All right, good morning, Janelle. I see you. Welcome. I just hit the record button. So everyone, good morning. Thank you so much for popping in today. I'm so glad to see you. Today is a special gathering, special group today. Um, First, let me introduce myself. My name is Halona Black, and this is our regular Wednesday AM Meditative Writing Circle. And today we are gathering in honor of our sister, uh, Nikki Giovanni. I'm sure that she's meant a lot to a lot of us, and the poetry that she has written, we've been able to see ourselves and honor ourselves through her words and her poetry. And we just wanted to take this hour today to recognize her legacy. But first, before we get started, I always like to take just a few moments to be able to settle ourselves into the space. So what I like to do is I turn off the video for a moment, just so that we can focus, take a couple of minutes to be able to focus inwards rather than what's on the screen. Just take a moment to sort of settle into the chair that you're sitting on, wherever it is that you're sitting. If you can put your feet flat on the floor, you can do that. If you're where you can fold your legs, you can do that as well. And just place your hands and your arms wherever it feels most comfortable for you. And just breathe normally. If you'd like, you can put your hand over your heart. And just take a moment to be able to catch your breath and calm down. This is a nice exercise for you to be able to do whenever you start a new project during the day. Just take a moment to be cognizant of where you are and what it is that you're doing, what you're feeling in the moment. Take a moment to relax your shoulders. You can unclench your jaw. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So for today, I chose a couple of poems from Nikki Giovanni. The first one is called Quilts. It's probably one of her later poems from the 2000s, I believe. And I'll just take a moment to read it. And if anyone has any words that they want to say about the poem, you know, feel free to be able to share if they feel so moved to be able to do so. But I can just sort of give a synopsis of the poem once I finish reading it, and then I have a journaling prompt, and we can just sort of write about the journaling prompt, which we'll do for about 5 to 7 minutes. And then we'll sort of share as a group. So the first one is called Quilts by Nikki Giovanni. And she says, like a fading piece of cloth, I am a failure. No longer do I cover tables filled with food and laughter. My seams are frayed, my hems falling, my strength no longer able to hold the hot and cold. I wish for those first days when just woven I could keep water from seeping through repelled stains with the tightness of my weave, dazzled the sunlight with my reflection. I grow old through pleased. Let's see. But I grow old, though pleased with my memories, the tasks I can no longer complete are balanced by the love of the task gone past. I offer no apology, only this plea. When I am frayed and strained and drizzle at the end, please someone cut a square and put me in a quilt that I might keep some child warm and some old person with no one else to talk to will hear my whispers and cuddle near. I included a copy of the two poems of the day in the reminder email. So if you wanted to look at it for yourself, you also have it in your email. But I really love this poem. Simply because I think she's talking about being useful at a, at a later point in life. She's using the quilt as an analogy, or a tablecloth or a quilt or some kind of some sort of blanket or something that used to be used, that used to be feel useful at some point, and at some point in life, you get to a point where you just can't do it the way that you want to be able to do it anymore. And so she wants to be able to choose pieces of her story, choose pieces of herself to be able to share with the next generation of people who come after her so that she will always be useful. Her legacy will continue beyond um, just um, her original usefulness. And I thought it was appropriate, being that she's passed on and we're just sort of sitting down and thinking about what her legacy is. And we can sort of sit down and think about what her legacy is to all of us individually. Um, and so I don't know if anyone had anything they wanted to say about this particular poem or anything that they thought was particularly striking about the poem, if there was a part in the poem that you thought that you really loved. Okay.
I just thought it was so sad. It just seemed so sad.
Mhm. Sadness. Um, I don't know. I think I want to, I like that she sat down and thought. I think she was thinking about what her legacy that she wanted to be able to have with people. And I think she's done enough work that she doesn't really need to say anything about what her particular legacy is, and she just sort of left it up to you. So you can sort of choose what part of the blanket, the tablecloth or whatever it is that you want to be able to call it. You can sort of pick and choose what part of her legacy meant the most to you. And you can sort of sew that into, I would call it the fabric of your own life. We're all quilts that were put together from the people who came before us, which I think is a nice way to be able to put it, to be able to put it, because death is inevitable. We all have to look at death at some point in our lives, even though it's sad and we don't like to be able to look at it. Um, but yeah, I just thought that this particular poem was really appropriate for today. But the question that I have for us was about intergenerational wisdom and storytelling. And so in the poem, Nikki likes to speak about the way that quilts can carry history, or she hints to that. And so I wanted us to be able to think about what family or ancestral stories have been passed down to you, and how have they influenced your journey? What family or ancestral stories have been passed down to you, and how have they influenced your journey? I'll put the question in the chat so you can see it. I'll put 7 minutes on the clock. One more minute. Okay, so the question is, what family or ancestral stories have been passed down to you, and how have they influenced your journey, your life journey? Would anyone like to read what you wrote, or you just sort of give a general synopsis of what you've been able to write?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I've benefited from the ancestral practice of reading for pleasure. School taught me to read for scholastic achievement. Society taught me to read for survival. The church taught me to read for redemption. The more I read, the more I hungered for the words that seemed to infuse themselves in my consciousness and flow through my bloodstream. Depending on the genre, I would feel a quickening, an array of emotions, some unbearable, some exhilarating, others confusing. When I see the soul of Nikki Giovanni on the page, I appreciate that she was courageous enough to bear the compressed pressure she intended. I embrace her as the ancestor who smiled at my youngest daughter when she was 3 years old at Essex County College when I was trying to find my way as a writer. She didn't know that I was starving, and I didn't tell her. I just captured a moment that still lives in my mind.
Mm. So the love of reading is
Yeah.
what's been passed down to you. That's beautiful. And you said you went to Essex County College in Newark, New Jersey?
Yes, I visited, she was presenting there.
Mhm.
And of course I wanted to, I idolized her. I wanted to see her in person. And Colette was 3. And we happened to run into her as she was going in. And I introduced myself to her and introduced my daughter to her. And she took my daughter's hand. And I still remember them smiling at each other. Colette was skipping along and Nikki Giovanni was smiling at her. And, you know, I often hate that I don't have that on a photo, but
Mhm.
I run it through my mind over the years often.
Mhm. That's beautiful. I actually grew up in that area, so I know where
Oh.
that is.
Yeah, I met Ozzie Davis there as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the parking lot after his presentation. And
Mhm.
I was suffering, oh my God, as a writer. And I said to him, why is it so hard? He said, it just is. Keep going. Isn't that something?
Mhm. You just have to keep going.
Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Mhm.
And I really love as soon as, at least I heard when Nikki Giovanni passed, people started posting pictures that they
Mhm.
have with her. So many people say that they write and they want to write, but then they might write the thing, but they don't want to connect with anybody. It was
Mhm.
very clear Nikki Giovanni was about people.
Yes.
She
Yes.
very much loved people and ensuring that her words connected with human beings, with Black people in particular.
Yes.
So she was never too tired to take a picture, to stop and talk to people, which I think is a beautiful thing
It's true.
for writers to be able to do. That to me, that's really the beauty of being a writer, is being able to connect with the people who connect with your work.
Hmm.
To see all of these pictures, from different decades popping up with Nikki Giovanni, I think is really beautiful.
And I don't know if you all have seen the documentary that she helped produce
Mhm.
about her life, about her work.
I
But
haven't seen that.
I
I have to watch it.
please.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Would anyone else like to share?
I will.
Yes, Danielle.
Um, I don't have many stories that have been passed down. This has led me to feeling like an observer most of my life. I grew up without knowing my father most of my childhood. I grew up with hushed whispers and pieces of information gathered by lurking in the shadows, becoming a chameleon, just to fit, just to hear, just to learn. Most of my adult life, I spent searching for belonging, wanting to learn who I am and where I belong. I've been on a path of discovery and asking questions in midlife. I've now been sitting at the feet of remaining elders and inviting them to finally tell the stories. I resonate with Nikki Giovanni in just the ebbs and flows and the valleys and mountains that she wrote with, the just figuring out of life is what speaks to me in her writing. And I'm sorry, I'm very emotional this morning, but thank you for that prompt.
That was really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I can really resonate. I don't like it. I feel like it took me so long to be able to figure out or feel like I belonged anywhere. And really, belonging always starts with yourself. So I certainly understand it. It took me many, many years to even to be able to be able to put words to be able to express what that longing that I was looking for, what that even was. I was doing all these years, just trying to fit in someplace, anywhere.
Yeah. And I remember just feeling silly at a point, like, you're 35, you're 40, like, what's the problem? Why can't you just get it together? But
Get
that
it together,
self
girl.
is the thing, that little girl that was still trying,
Mhm.
to figure it out and just pulling all those pieces of
Mhm.
myself together, finally, belonging within myself.
Mhm.
Danielle, as you were speaking, I could hear your heart. I could hear your vulnerabilities even before you mentioned that you were emotional. And I can relate because I still have not totally connected at the advanced age that I am. And I always say that I am an only child with siblings because there's so many years between myself and my brothers. And so I grew up feeling like an only child. So it was difficult to connect. And so I relate to you, and I could hear your heart as you were reading.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Yeah, I think it's more common than we think, than we actually think. We always think that we're the only one that feels that way. And it's, that we all have our own version of what being alone feels like and looks like. But I think that's a pretty common thing. I don't think I know anybody who's felt that they grew up and felt like they had a strong sense of belonging. Um, whether that was real or imagined. It's always real. If you don't acknowledge that you belong first within yourself, then you'll always feel like you don't belong on the outside. Anybody else care to share?
Halona, I just want to say that that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I am an only child, and I had to teach myself to belong because it doesn't bother me. I I don't feel like I lost anything by not having siblings. So, but I had to teach myself how to belong from that as a result. Mhm.
In my experience, it made me extremely independent and how to do for self. And even now, I'll take myself out. I don't have a, I'm okay with me. I can be with me and be alone with me. But it does you summed it up, Carolyn, when you said you have to you made yourself belong. And so I've done that to an extent, but it is a little different when you're the only one.
Mhm. I think it's an opportunity to get in touch with your soul.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's the work. That's the work of life,
Mhm.
and discovering who you are to get in touch with your soul.
Mhm.
All right. We can move on to the second poem by Nikki Giovanni. It's called Woman. She says she wanted to be a blade of grass amid the fields, but he wouldn't agree to be a dandelion. She wanted to be a robin singing through the leaves, but he refused to be her tree. She spun herself into a web and, looking for a place to rest, turned to him, but he stood straight, declining her to be her corner. Let me read that again. She spun herself into a web and, looking for a place to rest, turned to him, but he stood straight, declining to be her corner. She tried to be a book, but he wouldn't read. She turned herself into a bulb, but he wouldn't let her grow. She'd decided to become a woman and thought he still refused to be a man. She decided it was all right. And I think that's probably the perfect poem to be able to read after our discussion of learning how to come into our own and not paying attention, particularly to what other men, the men in our lives, have to say about who we are and what we're doing, and trying to get folks to be on, the same level of life that you're on, and you just realize that you're just kind of slowing you down. So at some point you have to learn how to be able to be comfortable with being who you are, and those who are not able to catch up, they have to go.
My favorite phrase, gotta go.
And so I really love this poem a lot. And so let's see. The first question, did anyone have anything to say about about this particular poem before we go into our journaling question?
I love it. I love it. It just says so much. Oh my gosh. Somebody said their favorite expression was what? Like, gotta go? In my mind, I always say, go by.
And there was a point in my life where it was like you feel like you got to bring everybody with you. And you're making apologies for who you are and what you're doing, and they're looking at you like, why are you moving too fast? And I'm like, you moving slow, like and it's just not working, and that's okay. She says at the end, she decided it was all right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really all it was. Just decided it's fine. You can be where
Right.
you are. I am where I am. It's all right.
Mhm.
I don't need to change you. I'm certainly not going to change myself. So let's all just let it be. So our question is, how do you choose to live for yourself? Write about the ways in which you claim your freedom, even in the face of societal expectations. I'll read it again. How do you choose to live for yourself? Write about the ways in which you claim your freedom, even in the face of societal expectations.
Mhm.
One more minute. All right, so the question is, how do you choose to live for yourself? Write about the ways in which you claim your freedom, even in the face of societal expectations. For myself, I wrote about that I love the work of learning who I am and what it is that who I am naturally. And it just becomes a process of just really being excited about who I am. I'm looking at the poem again, and she used such hard words to talk about how it is that she would turn into something else for some other guy. It's so much, it's so hard to be worked to, to be something for somebody else before you can do that for yourself. And so my process of getting to know myself, I've been able to do that from living overseas. And I find that living overseas, so far away from everything that I knew and understood for what was true for my life when I used to live in the US, is that I have the time and space to I guess it's just the time and space to get to know who I am. What do I like? What's exciting about me? If you can't learn to be excited about who you are, you really can't expect other people to be excited about who you naturally are. They'll never get to appreciate who you naturally are. And so when you do that, you get to experience a sense of freedom that you didn't have before, because you're not wasting so much energy on trying to please other people who are really just not that interested in getting to know you. So the other person will never be adequate. They will never be enough. And the other person will look at you as not being enough. So just doing the work of being able to figure out whatever it is that you have to do to be able to learn who you are and what it is that you like, I think it's a worthwhile journey.
I'd like to thank you for that. When I heard her poem or when I read it, I guess it comes from our background, wherever we come from, we pull what it is maybe into our interpretation of what's being said. So I don't want to say that I had an abusive background, but I've been through abuse. And her poem to me sounded coming from an abusive situation, although I don't think it was as abusive. I understand the control. However, being an only child also, yes, there's not very many of us out there, but hello, only children. Um, I've been very fortunate enough to be an only child, to be independent. However, going through an abusive situation, I feel that I was in a situation that pulled that independence away from me. Me being in it and then getting out of it, I kind of rebirthed myself. I guess that's the best way to say it. I rebirthed myself. So I'm looking at let me look at your question so I don't go off chart here. So I made these choices in my life. And then I moved to the Virgin Islands, which is, like you said, Halona, I'm telling you, you walk away from all of this and you turn into a whole nother person. Even when I came back to visit in the States, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, you look different. Your demeanor's different. This is different. This is, and it's like you're a brand new person again. So you grow from that. And I'm back here in the States now, planning to, eventually move out again. And I crave wanting to reinvent myself again. I'm craving that. And I'm pulling in the things that I'm kind of putting together my toolbox right now so that when I get to where I'm at, I can just kind of just go. I can't really do it here. I feel restricted here. I really do in the United States. I feel restricted, but I know what that feeling is like to live, to actually like live again, to blossom, to be that flower that grows out. I think I'm that way here, but I think I could be a bigger flower once I walk away because I know what it's like to walk away from this craziness here, all the things that are just unnecessary to me, and go to the places where I can really reconnect with me and other people in a more authentic way than I do now. Um, I think I answered your question. Yeah, yeah, it takes me away from the societal expectations, which I've never really cared about in the first place anyway. So, that's the best thing about being an only child and independent. You kind of can create what you got and do what you want. And you don't have that feeling of wanting to be with other people. And I know that sounds uncommunity like, but it's very, believe it or not, it's very healthy. I like the fact that I can choose instead of having the need to do it. So I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's really beautiful. I love that. And I think your comment about community is important. Sometimes the community that you grew up with um, is the most restrictive out of all the places that you could be. And you have to be, because people have a certain assumption about who you are and what they knew you to be while you're growing up or you're going through your adulting process. And then as soon as you do something that's sort of outside of that, they're like, where did all of that come from? And so sometimes you have to go and create community elsewhere with other people who are doing the same sort of searching that you're doing in order to feel comfortable with, learning who you are outside of where it is that you grew up. So I think that that's really important. Miss Carolyn says yes, to become a bigger flower. I love when you said that, to become a bigger flower in the garden.
I'm already 6 feet, so I don't know how much more bigger I can get.
I love it.
I would like to say something quickly.
Yes, Mr. Mila.
Um, as a woman, an aging woman in this society, I see how uh, we are kind of expected to just, disappear or go somewhere and sit down and be sick. And it's as if they see us as no longer useful. Like in general, you're just no longer useful. And so when you ask the question, what the quote that came into my mind was Zora
First,
Neale Hurston said that Black women are the mules of the world. And I use that as a point of reference for myself, that now I am a mule for myself. And I'm not going to go somewhere and just sit down and be sick. I continue to fight every day by, even if it's just something as simple as going for a walk. That's something for me, so that I can sustain myself as a healthy human being. So I'm continuing to plow as like that mule. I continue to plow, but now I'm plowing for myself.
To plow for yourself. I love that.
Amen. Mhm.
Because it is work. It's work,
Yes,
you
yes,
know? So I mean, if you're gonna do the work, who are you doing the work for? Who's the
ex-
benefit? The beneficiary
exactly.
of all this work that we have to get up and do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not the main beneficiary, then you end up sick.
Absolutely. And you
Mhm,
end up sick and dying, and then someone will give accolades over your body at a funeral, perhaps saying how much you gave to other people.
mhm,
And then we get rewarded for giving ourselves away. And so many of us have never even lived.
mhm,
But you were constantly giving and giving and giving, you know?
mhm,
So yeah, I got a big issue with that. So yeah,
mhm.
no. I'm like, no, no, I'm not doing that. Mm-mm.
Absolutely. And we read about it all the time in people's obituaries.
Oh my gosh.
Such and such gave so much to the community and she was selfless and all sorts of other things, but she's gone now. And it's usually, the person died of cancer, or, they died a very overweight person, or,
Yes.
they just didn't have time to be able to take care of themselves as they were doing the work of taking care of everybody else but themselves.
Not to mention the anger sometimes that gets spewed upon us when we begin to take care of
Mhm.
ourselves. Like
Mhm.
people generally, genuinely, a lot of times don't like it. What are
Mhm,
you doing that for?
Mhm.
Why are you going for a walk? You're already skinny enough. Haven't you
Mhm.
lost enough weight? You're
Mhm.
doing too much,
Mhm.
you know?
mhm,
But if you're sitting down somewhere in a recliner, you know, that's okay. They'll buy you a recliner. They'll take $400 or $500 and buy you a recliner. But if you say, no, well, I want $400 or $500 so I can go take this trip, what you doing that for?
mhm,
I ain't got time. I really don't.
It
mhm.
it's it's almost
Absolutely.
it's almost like that standard that we live in regular life where monkeys in a barrel, where you keep on people just keep on pulling, or crabs in the barrel, I'm
Crabs.
sorry. Crabs in the
Crabs.
barrel, where people just
Yes.
keep pulling you down. And when you get older, it's kind of like another little realm like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it sucks. It really sucks. I will tell you this much though. My mother was a traveler, and I have her blood. She traveled in almost every single country, I think, except for like two. I think she missed. But she traveled from age 21. She and her best friend grabbed a bag, went to Europe, and lived all over Europe. That's how they started, with just a bag. And this is in the 1940s. They did that, and she traveled all the way until she was 80. God, mom died at 86, so probably till she was about 80 years old. And she did all of that. So I made sure in her legacy that on her funeral, in her, the program, I listed all the places she went. That's what I did. It was just a full thing of every single place that she went, and her line was just live. That's what my mother always said. That's always her quote. And I made sure that that was there right at the bottom. So I made sure that her legacy of living life was there, you know.
Mhm.
So maybe that's something we can do, look at the other side of it, look at the other side of how people live, you know,
Mhm.
but try to get that across to your community who has to take care of, things when you go. Or you can write your own.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can write your own.
Absolutely.
Um, I want to read mine, but I
Sure.
also want to say, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correct, Fatigue. You have given me hope. You said your
Patty.
mom traveled till she was 80.
Yeah.
I keep thinking, oh my God, it's too late for me, or, I don't know, but I so want to enjoy the freedom that I hear everyone speak of who's living abroad or who has lived abroad. I want to experience that. And yeah, so you gave me some hope right there.
Thank you. You're
Um,
welcome.
I'm going to read mine. I don't know if I'm fully on topic, but this is what came to me. I choose me. I stand strong and independent. And even though I have been told to take off the cape, I keep it packed and pressed and ready to wear for the events of life that continue to present themselves. Love, yes, love is the key. Self love, love for family, and love for those who it is most difficult to love. The difficult to love needed the most.
Mm.
I choose me by going in the opposite direction of most and being okay being the lone robin singing my own tune. I choose me by appreciating the beauty of nature, the blanket of flowers for me to enjoy and to cover myself in.
God, that was absolutely gorgeous. That was
Thank you.
absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for sharing that.
That was so sweet, Cynthia. Thank you. I
You're
just
welcome.
for that. That's so beautiful.
Mhm. And what it makes me think of is just how offended people get when you decide to take care of yourself. Like Miss Jamila was talking about, people get offended when you decide to take care of yourself. And so I love how you, Cynthia, you talk about just the sweet things of being able to make the decision that what you're going to do is for your own benefit, to take care of yourself, which is a moment. Like I think that's I think we bypass that moment. A lot of times we don't really look back and sort of see where we've made decisions in favor of ourselves. Um, and I think that those are moments that we have to stop and celebrate, because it's part of it helps to extend our lives, I believe. You know, when you vote for yourself, when you do things to take care of yourself, and it tells other people how to be able to treat you in return.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you become intolerant of other people who are not in line with treating you the way that you're used to being treated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I just cut off so many conversations with people now. I'm just like, okay, well, you know, if that's not where we are. And before I would fight, you know, what, who do I have to be? Like literally, I remember doing this with my ex-husband. What do I have to do to be in better graces in this relationship? And really that was the wrong question. Like, why am I even doing this?
Don't even get me started about the changes and you morph yourself and you bend yourself and you try to be
Yes.
and it's really fruitless. It's useless because it just is. And trust, I can relate totally.
Same to the former spouse. Thank you, Jesus, for freedom. Like, I was like, you need 5 wives. Like, how many people do I need to be? Like, what's the problem?
Thank you.
And thinking that something was wrong with me. Like I was,
Hello.
nothing wrong
Hello.
with me. Nothing, absolutely nothing. There's nothing that I could do to make this better. So let's just leave it alone. Which is really what the woman poem is about. I just
Yeah.
really thought that, all the bending around and the
Yeah.
asking questions and the hoping and begging and crying, and
Yeah.
it's just too much work. Just be your own woman is what Miss Nikki Giovanni was telling us.
Become a woman. Mm.
To be your own woman.
Yeah.
So. Any other last words? We're at the top of the hour.
Greetings, everyone. This is
Hello, Akila. How are you? I'm so
I'm
glad to
good.
see you.
Same here. So I'm glad to make it and to hear all of the wonderful things that have been shared so far. I'm not really sure what the focus was other than the poems. I mean, and I was so happy to make it because Nikki Giovanni was so important to me. And I had a feeling that you would be focusing on her work today. So I'm glad that I made it here for that and just to hear what everyone's sharing. And you know, there's a few things that came up that when I came in that resonated with me. I'm also an only child. So to only children, only daughters at that. And that there's just so much in that, just wrapped up in that about identity and, you know, figuring out who you are and in the absence of other siblings to help mold your personality and, you know, your ways of socializing and things like that. And I'm probably older than most in this group as well. And so listening to it's always powerful for me to just hear what younger women have to say, younger Black women especially have to say, and where they're at in their journey in life. And also the theme of moving abroad or living abroad is one that's on my radar as well. And I've questioned myself, like, is it too late? Is it going to happen? Is this a pipe dream? I know it's not. Now I know, but I had to do a lot of soul work to get to that. Like, it's okay. You can. My mom also traveled late in life and is, you know, part of my inspiration to still be able to do it later in life, I should say. Not at 80, but like in 60s and 70s. So yeah, I mean, the bending as a woman thing, I've been married for 40, almost 42 years. And the bending thing, it's interesting. It's my second marriage. My first one was just impossible because I was in that space that Nikki Giovanni talks about, where it's just, I was just never enough. I could never be all the things that Danielle said, like, you know, you need like multiple people to meet this goal that you, this moving target that you have of what a wife is or a partner is. And it's like, and that's just not me, you know, but it is possible to find that, you know, there's always growth opportunities for us in every relationship, and I've definitely sacrificed things that I wanted to do in life, but it's not too late to still do those things. So, fortunately for me, I got married really young. And so now I'm older and my kids are all grown and I have grandchildren and I still have vitality in life and can do me, you know, and I figured out who me is, you know, in that process. So thank you so much for providing this space. I'm looking forward to writing more this next year. It's something that I want to do. So I plan to show up here. This is a good time for me, even though it's only 6 a.m. It's still a good time for me because I'm usually up early. So I plan to be here more and tap in. Thank you for providing this space and for us. And it's good to see you after all this time.
I know. Thank you so much for coming. And I wanted to leave everybody with saying there's always more of you to be discovered. Like just when you think that you know yourself, you know, there's always something that kicks off something in you that says, oh, there's more of me to learn about. There's more for me to be able to share. You know, and so travel is just one of the things that you can do to be able to tap into that. But there's always more of you to learn about. That's what's really so wonderful about life, is that there's more to learn about yourself. All right, so thank you all so much for coming in today. I hope you all can join us next week, same time, same place. You'll get all the email reminders. For the people who are watching the YouTube replay, I just wanted to let you know that if you wanted to join us live, you're able to do so. Just go and click on the link in the description box and you can put in your name and your email, and you'll be able to get reminders of this every week. So ladies, thank you so much. Think about Miss Nikki Giovanni and share how it is that she has affected your life with other people so that we don't lose what she has taught us and what we've talked about today. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great session today.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Great day, everybody.
Nice. Yeah.
Have a wonderful day, everybody.
You too, everybody.
Take care. Love you.
Love you too.